longer building for urban India. It's now building for Bharat. 20 years ago, the GDP of our country was 600 billion and we are at 4 trillion. Dr. Balu is someone who is passionate, grounded, totally engrossed in the mission. Really appreciate that. I think our country needs people like you. Sadhguruji, Dr. Balu, Manish, Anand, great to share the dais here with you all. I've known Balu now for maybe 15-20 years. My first interaction was with one of the NGOs I was involved with, Shikshana, when Balu was doing something similar, but in his own enclave of his very close to Kabini, near the place where I had some. But I think the second interaction was during COVID, where there were significant challenges in the region which he was involved with, and we were able to work together to get some oxygen there. But all through, I think, what I've seen with Dr. Balu is someone who is really passionate, grounded, and totally engrossed in the mission that he has committed himself to. And I think we just seen a continuation of that through the many years, Balu, and really appreciate that. I think our country needs people like you. So I probably take a little bit of a different perspective on, or provide a different perspective on leadership in terms of what I see in the entrepreneurial world and as an investor. So, always we question, are leaders born, are leaders made? But really, and I think a lot of that has been expressed already by Dr. Balu. I think leaders develop. And there's no better place where you see that when you fund companies and you fund entrepreneurs who come to you with very little actually in terms of leadership skills when you actually fund, when they start their journey. But they have some key ingredients, and which is what we try to look for. And that ingredient is they have immersed themselves, they have found their passion. And we try to assess, is this something that they've just thought about in the last 3 months, and because there is 10 VCs interested in a space, they're starting to talk about it? Or is it something that they have spent enough time and really believe that they want to spend the next 10, 15 years in that space? And we think that's a very, very important ingredient. And we have to be able to, as investors, discern somebody who has really committed themselves. And we, as an example, we saw that in Sachin and Bini. And they went on and they proved us right in that sense. And they went on to build one of the best startups this country has ever produced. So I think that ability to follow your passion and that ability to then execute on that passion and be conscientious about what you're building and develop that skill as you go along, I think is what I've seen many founders who go on to build large companies. And if you see as a country, where will a lot of the inspiration come for the next generation in terms of leadership? It's going to come from these entrepreneurs. So, just reflecting the last 20 years, when we started investing 20 years ago, the GDP of our country was 600 billion. That's it. Can you believe that? Right? 20 years, just 600 billion, and we are at 4 trillion. And if there is this leap, this huge leap that we have made, and we're going to make another huge leap in the next 25 years, I think we need not only the kind of leadership we have seen till date, but very, very many new dimensions of leadership from the entrepreneurs that we are going to fund. And that's the challenge that we as investors are looking forward to, because it's no longer building for urban India. It's now building for Bharat, which is a very different leadership challenge. It's one thing to deliver something from point X to point Y and do it well, of course, and I'm not taking away anything from what a lot of our startups have done. But when you now look at the challenge of creating industries, creating ventures that will employ 20 million, 30 million people that are going to come to our workforce, and where we need to really look at this China plus one opportunity and make something of that opportunity, I think it's a very different leadership. And I'm finding that our entrepreneurs really come from backgrounds where I think what we call as product market fit is lacking, right? They have not seen real Bharat. And it's very few entrepreneurs that today we encounter who can really now build not the next Flipkart, the next Swiggy, the next Book My Show, but really can address challenges which will build a more equitable Bharat and do what we need to do in the next 25 years, which we've not been able to do in the last 75 years. The last thing I'll talk about is resilience, and that's something that I, again, had a very, very close ringside view to see across the 200, 250 companies that we had funded. I really saw the entrepreneurs that had a very different character. And it's these companies today that will IPO in the next 5 to 10 years. So there was no bigger test than COVID for a lot of these companies. So, it was amazing to see some of the most understated entrepreneurs within our portfolio become the stars post this challenge. And that's something that was was extremely surprising for a lot of us. The top performing entrepreneur from an IIT or an IIM was not the one that we saw survive and flourish in this in the post-COVID scenario. So and I'm coming back to this point that the next generation of entrepreneurs, I believe, will be very different as leaders from what the entrepreneurs that we have seen in the last 20 years. And that makes our job interesting and exciting to identify these entrepreneurs who will now build for the next 25 years and achieve what we've not been able to achieve in the last 75 years. Thank you.